I always loved camping. The fresh air, the starry sky, the crackling fire. It was a perfect way to escape the stress of the city and reconnect with nature. That's why I didn't hesitate when my friend invited me to join him and his girlfriend for a weekend trip in the woods. He said he knew a great spot by a lake where we could set up our tents and enjoy the peace and quiet. We arrived at the campsite on Friday evening, just before sunset. We quickly unpacked our gear and pitched our tents. My friend and his girlfriend shared one, and I had the other one to myself. We gathered some firewood and lit a fire, then roasted some marshmallows and told stories. It was a fun night, and I felt relaxed and happy. The next day, we decided to explore the area. We followed a trail that led us to the lake, where we saw a small wooden dock. We walked over to it and saw a rowboat tied to it. My friend suggested that we take it for a spin, and his girlfriend agreed. I was a bit hesitant, as I didn't know how to row, but they assured me it was easy and fun. They got in the boat and helped me in, then handed me an oar. They showed me how to move it back and forth, and soon we were gliding across the water. The lake was beautiful, surrounded by tall trees and green hills. We saw some ducks and fish and heard some birds singing. We rowed for a while, then stopped in the middle of the lake and just enjoyed the view. It was so peaceful and serene. I felt like I was in a dream. Suddenly, I heard a loud splash behind me. I turned around and saw something huge and dark emerge from the water. It looked like a giant snake with scales and fangs and glowing red eyes. It hissed and lunged at me, wrapping its coils around me and dragging me under. I screamed and struggled, but it was too strong. I felt its teeth sink into my flesh and blood gushed out of my wounds. I saw my friend and his girlfriend staring at me in horror, frozen in shock. They didn't move or try to help me. They just watched as I was devoured by the monster. The last thing I saw was its face, inches from mine, as it swallowed me whole. Then everything went black. As I faded into oblivion, I heard a voice in my head. It was deep and raspy, and it spoke in a language I didn't understand. It sounded like it was chanting something, over and over again. I felt a surge of pain and fear, and then a strange sensation of being pulled back to life. I opened my eyes and gasped for air. I was still in the boat, but everything was different. The lake was gone, replaced by a sea of blood. The sky was dark and stormy, and lightning flashed across it. The trees and hills were twisted and burned, and I saw corpses and bones everywhere. The air was thick with smoke and ash, and it smelled like death. I looked at my friend and his girlfriend, and I screamed. They were no longer human, but hideous creatures. They had scales and horns and claws, and their eyes were glowing red. They grinned at me, revealing rows of sharp teeth. They spoke in the same language as the voice in my head, and I realized they were the ones who summoned the monster. They told me they were part of a cult that worshipped the snake god, and they needed a sacrifice to complete their ritual. They said they chose me because I was an outsider, and they didn't care about me. They said they lured me to the campsite with a fake invitation, and they planned to kill me and offer my soul to their lord. They said they were sorry for the deception, but they had to do it for their faith. They said they were surprised when the monster appeared and took me instead of them. They said they thought it was a sign of their god's favor, and they rejoiced. They said they didn't expect me to come back, but they were glad I did. They said they still needed my soul, and they were going to take it by force. They lunged at me, and I grabbed the oar and swung it at them. I hit one of them in the head, and he fell into the blood. The other one clawed at me, and I felt her nails rip through my skin. I kicked her in the stomach, and she stumbled back. I jumped out of the boat and ran towards the shore, hoping to find a way out of this nightmare. But as I ran, I saw more of the cult members waiting for me. They were all wearing black robes and masks, and they held knives and torches. They chanted the same words as the voice in my head, and they surrounded me. They closed in on me, and I knew I had no chance of escape. They stabbed me and burned me, and I felt my life drain away. They laughed and cheered, and I heard them say they had done it. They had pleased their god, and they would be rewarded. They said they would join him in his kingdom, and they would rule over the world. They said they were sorry for me, but they had to do it. They said it was nothing personal, just business. I never liked camping, but my friends convinced me to join them for a weekend trip in the mountains. They said it would be fun and relaxing, and that we would see some amazing scenery. They said it would be a great way to celebrate our graduation from college. They said it would be an adventure. They were wrong. We drove for hours until we reached a remote spot by a river. We parked our car and carried our backpacks to a clearing where we set up our tents and a fire pit. We cooked some food and drank some beer, and then we decided to go for a hike. We followed a trail that led us deeper into the woods, where we saw some wildflowers and birds. We took some pictures and joked around, and we felt happy and free. We didn't notice the signs of danger. We didn't see the claw marks on the trees or the bones on the ground. We didn't hear the growls or the howls or the rustling in the bushes. We didn't smell the blood or the fur or the rotting flesh. We didn't sense the eyes that watched us or the teeth that bared. We were too busy having fun. We reached a viewpoint where we saw a stunning view of the valley below. We admired the sunset, and we decided to head back to our campsite. We turned around and started to walk when we heard a loud roar behind us. We froze and looked back, and we saw a huge black bear standing on its hind legs. It was angry and hungry, and it wanted us for dinner. We screamed and ran, but it was faster than us. It chased us down the trail, and we saw it catch up with one of our friends. It grabbed him by the leg and dragged him to the ground. It bit into his neck and tore out his throat. He gurgled and twitched, and then he was still. We didn't stop to help him. We kept running, hoping to reach our car. But we were too far away, and the bear was too close. It caught up with another one of our friends, and it swiped at her with its paw. It ripped open her chest and exposed her heart. She gasped and clutched at her wound, and then she was gone. We didn't stop to mourn her. We kept running, praying to survive. But we were running out of luck, and the bear was running out of patience. It caught up with the last one of our friends, and it pounced on him with its weight. It crushed his ribs and punctured his lungs. He wheezed and coughed, and then he was silent. I was the only one left. I ran as fast as I could, but I knew it was hopeless. The bear was right behind me, and I felt its breath on my neck. I tripped and fell, and I felt its claws on my back. It flipped me over and looked into my eyes. It snarled and opened its mouth, and I saw its fangs. This is the end of my story. This is the end of my life. It was supposed to be a romantic getaway for Jake and Lisa, a young couple who wanted to escape the city and enjoy nature. They had rented a tent and a camping site at the edge of a forest near a lake. They had heard rumors that the place was haunted, but they didn't believe in such things. They thought it would be fun to explore the area and maybe find some old relics or ruins. They arrived at the camping site in the afternoon and set up their tent. They decided to go for a walk around the lake and see if they could spot any wildlife. They saw some birds, squirrels, and rabbits, but nothing too exciting. They were about to head back to their tent when they heard a strange sound coming from the other side of the lake. It sounded like a horse, but not a normal one. It was a high-pitched metallic whinny that made their ears hurt. They looked across the water and saw a dark shape moving among the trees. It was hard to make out, but it looked like a horse with a long mane and tail. But there was something wrong with it. It had no eyes, no mouth, no nose. Its head was just a smooth, black sphere. And it was spinning. It was spinning so fast that it created a whirlwind around it that lifted leaves and branches into the air. Jake and Lisa felt a chill run down their spines. They had never seen anything like that before. They wondered what it was and where it came from. They wondered if it had seen them and if it was coming for them. They decided to run back to their tent and pack their things. They wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. They ran as fast as they could, but the spinning horse was faster. It had sensed their presence, and It was curious. It wanted to know what they were and what they tasted like. It followed them across the lake, cutting through the water like a torpedo. It reached the shore and galloped towards them, leaving a trail of dust and debris behind it. Jake and Lisa reached their tent and grabbed their backpacks. They didn't have time to take anything else. They tried to get into their car, but the spinning horse was already there. It blocked their way and stared at them with its blank black face. It tilted its head and made a loud screeching noise. It was a warning. It was telling them to stay away from its territory. Jake and Lisa were terrified. They had no idea what to do. They couldn't fight it. They couldn't outrun it. They couldn't reason with it. They were trapped.